Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose to Challenge. I'm Luana Bradford with the Bradford Group and principal of the Bradford Group Consulting. And I am so excited to have Audra Agan here with me this evening. How's it going, Audra?
It's great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. For those of you who are watching Choose to Challenge for the first time and you're wondering, what is it all about? Well, Choose to Challenge is a platform designed for women to have those conversations to help us rise above the limitations that may surround us, including those in our mind. It could be systemic blocks, roadblocks, hurdles, racial injustices. It could be access to healthcare, access to education, food and water sources. Those conversations that we need to have to challenge life so that we in turn can be and evolve into the best version of ourselves. And that starts with one simple thing, exercising our voice. And that's what Women in the Arena is all about. And Audra's here to talk to us a little bit about herself, her journey, and her platform, her podcast, Women in the Arena. So, Audra, tell us, how did this idea of this podcast begin and why now?
Well, I am a corporate America veteran, and in many cases, I work in a male-dominated field. So in many cases, I'm the only woman in the room. And if I'm not the only woman in the room, then the women aren't always heard, or their opinions aren't necessarily weighted in the same way that their male colleagues may have been. Or a lot of cases, they'll say something and it'll be brushed off. And then probably 2 minutes later, their male colleague will say something very similar to what she just said. And it's suddenly a brilliant idea. So so that's happened quite a bit. What the tipping point for Women in the Arena, where it came about, was in December of 2019, I had a yearly review with my organization. And the review was glowing and wonderful and said that you're an important part of this team. We can't wait to see what you do in 2020. And, we're so glad you're here. 2 weeks later, they came to me and said, we think that you no longer have the skills to do the job and your position has been eliminated. And I thought, what? What happened in 2 weeks? Did you guys give me a lobotomy and forget to tell me? I was flabbergasted. But at the same time, I wasn't, because I knew exactly what was going on. They didn't see me, and they didn't see my value, and they didn't see my contributions. And more importantly, they didn't see my female colleagues around me either. They didn't see them and their remarkable contributions and how brilliant each and every one of them were. And I thought, I'm not going to wait for the world to change. So I went out that night and bought a microphone.
I love hearing that story. It's like instantly you became this revolutionist. It's like, okay, yes. You will not dictate my path any longer, right? You're not going to silence my voice any longer. And that move that you made was pretty bold and quite courageous, because most people would have been totally devastated by that news and not known what to do.
And that's true. That's true. But, if you're a corporate America refugee, then that's not the first time that's happened. That happens a lot. And I just, at this particular time, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. This is the last time that this will happen like this. And I'm not going to be devastated by this. I'm going to do something proactive. And I have nicknamed this my rebellion. And it's me rebelling against the status quo. And it's me rebelling against the cultural tide that we have been given. So, and I don't mean rebellion in a negative way, because if I were to do this in a negative way, it would just be noise, absolute noise. And we've got plenty of negative noise out there without me contributing to it. I decided to do this in a positive way. So I thought, I am going to interview as many women as I possibly can. And I want them to tell me their value story. And what I mean by their value story is that what's special? What's the special thing that they're contributing to the world that is uniquely them, and is so it's so powerful that it needs to be celebrated. And our motto is celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. And it's like that for a reason, because we're doing remarkable things, and it's all out in the open. So it's as if you can't even see it.
Now, with that, as you said, your goal is to celebrate women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. And very often as women, we minimize, what we're doing. How do you help women who are coming to your stage dig deep and be willing to say, I'm going to be bold, I'm going to be unapologetic, and let the world see me, let the world hear my voice? What do you do to help get that out of women?
Well, the first thing that I tell them is that you're remarkable. You are amazing. I know that because I can see the things you do every single day. And nobody knows how you do them all. And you've made this change and this change and this change. So I try to point out the things that they have created, and things that they might have overlooked for themselves and didn't realize how special it was. So that's the first thing that I do, because I get to know my guest before I ever decide to have an interview with them, because I want them to be comfortable with me, because the conversation is a very organic conversation. And I tell them all the same thing. Just let me lead. Trust me. I'm going to take good care of you through this conversation. It's just two girlfriends having a conversation, but I ask you to be authentic. I ask you to be transparent, and I ask you to be vulnerable. This is a very safe space. Like I said, I will take care of you, and your value will be put in a very, very positive light, and you might, just might, change somebody's world.
I love that. I want to sit in the corporate space for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how important diversity and inclusion is, and equity. But there's another part, belonging. That feeling that you matter, the feeling that you're seen, the feeling that you're heard. How do you believe that this platform that you have can help change the life of a woman who chooses to stay in corporate America and deal with, just the ash and trash of the system?
Well, for me personally, this platform has given me the opportunity to create this community. Every single woman that I get to meet through this platform, I feel as if they become friends. It's an opportunity for me to connect with another woman. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm connecting this community with each other, so they can support each other. There's a lot of times that I'll say, who you should talk to? Who you should meet? And I connect them, because that's part of the problem, is that we're siloed and we're not connecting. So I'm trying to facilitate connecting each other so we can help support each other. And the other thing I say in corporate America, for those that are in corporate America, is that is your job. It is not your life. You need to make sure that you maintain and continue to chase your passion, whatever it is. If your passion is you want to paint, paint. Make time to paint. because taking care of and nurturing that passion, whatever it may be, will help ground you and fuel you through your corporate experience. Because then those things that happen around you, either A, won't matter as much, or B, you won't tolerate because your passions are ignited. So that's how I try to walk them through this, like I said, corporate experience.
That was beautifully stated, because when we become true to ourselves and we identify, that bigger why, that passion, that drive, then the other things become small. I mean, we tend not to notice them. We just dust them off. It's like, okay, next, I know what I'm going to do, come 5 o'clock, right?
Right.
Right. It's sometimes the corporate job is what fuels and funds your passion.
Exactly. It's a means to an end.
Yes. I was watching last night, and you were heavy on my mind when I watched this entire show. It was called Women in the Movement, and it was on ABC. And the particular episode that I saw was the mother of Emmett Till, who is an African-American male who was horribly beaten and murdered. And this was in 1954-55 time frame. Her name was Mamie Bradley. And as I said, as I was watching this, I just saw that she obviously was grieving her son, but she said, my voice, this is the impetus for this voice that I've had all along. Mm-hmm. I can't just stay silent. I have to now do something. I have to speak about the injustices that are around us as a community. And so, before there was an MLK and a Rosa Parks, there was this lady called Mamie Bradley. This woman doing extraordinary things in plain sight that most people have not heard about. And those are the type of women that you're bringing that to the table that may spark major movements, major societal shifts, right?
Absolutely. Because you never know. She did what she did because she felt like she had no other choice. There wasn't another option for her. Just like there's not another option for me not to do this. I have to do this. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. This is what fuels my passions throughout the day, because I'm never at a shortage of talking to remarkable women. And some of these stories that I tell are uplifting and encouraging and inspiring, and some of them are heartbreaking, but they need to be told. I helped tell a story in a recent episode that I just published. I will tell you, to date, it was the absolute most difficult, challenging interview I have ever done. I felt very unequipped to do it. But because it was a side of a story that I had never heard and nobody else was telling it, I felt compelled that I had to. And I'll share with you what it was. I interviewed a woman who created a documentary called Unlearn. And she interviewed 30 individuals that just simply told their story about their first experience with racism. Many of them had never spoken about it. Some of the people that she spoke to were in their 60s, and they had never, ever, ever shared it. What was remarkable about this story, besides those compelling, gut-wrenching stories, is their perspective on this. The documentary is called Unlearn for a reason. Their perspective is that there is a false education that's been passed down from generation to generation. There's some unlearning that needs to be done. And these individuals that have been persecuted and faced with racism have such extraordinary compassion and empathy for this situation that they feel that in order to solve this problem, that they're going to be part of the solution and help to re-educate the society. Now, that's a story that I've never heard. I've never, ever, ever heard that side of the story. And like I said, I felt extremely ill-equipped to tell this story. I was definitely intimidated. I broke down many times during that interview because it was such a gut-wrenching story. But I did it anyway because I feel like it's my duty to use my voice to give a platform, a safe platform for others to tell their story, even when it's hard for me. And it was hard and it was scary, but I did it. And I'm going to keep telling hard and scary stories because those are also part of our experience.
Yes. And that's all a part of, you said, creating this voice, creating this safe space, but you serving as an ally.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, there's so many ways that we can be a part of change, whether we are directly affected by it or not. But it starts with being willing to speak, to show up. And that's what you're doing every day with women in the arena. Women in the arena is not only are you showing up, but you're encouraging women to do so. And I want to ask you this question, Audra. Have you thought about, I know you're thinking about the transformation that's happening with your listening audience, but have you thought about how the lives who sit across from you are being changed because they're daring to tell their story?
I hope that they are changed for the experience or from the experience, because I am. I'm changed every single time I do an interview, every time, because of what I ask these women to do. Like I said, I ask them to be vulnerable and transparent. That's a gift. And I am changed because they are entrusting me with that. And they're giving me their vulnerability. You'd have to be an incredibly cold person not to be changed because of that. So I'm hoping that I'm giving them just a tiny bit of what they're giving me.
Now, you mentioned to me that you're now in over 40 countries.
Yes, much to my surprise. Yes, I am.
How does that feel?
Overwhelming, humbling, exciting, terrifying. Yes.
So with your broadcast, obviously you're out in 40 countries. How many countries have been represented on your platform?
As far as interviews are concerned, I haven't counted, but of course, the US, Canada, Scotland, England, Oman, several other women from the Middle East. I'm working my way down to, I've interviewed in Japan, New Zealand. I'm trying to work my way down to South America. I'm trying to work my way around the world.
And isn't that amazing that with your microphone, you're traveling the globe?
I am.
You're traveling the globe.
Without leaving my closet. And I say that because my first interviews, including yours, because I got to interview you, I interviewed you in my master upstairs closet. But it worked. What the heck?
It worked. So what are your short and long term vision for women in the arena?
So short term is, of course, I want to continue to interview as many women as I possibly can all over the world. I would also love to start having partnerships, sponsors. So we can, not only can we continue to do this work, we can do more. Because, with help from other individuals, I can't imagine what we could do. I mean, it would be amazing if once we get out of this COVID existence and we get to an opportunity to go out into the world and see each other again. I would love to start creating events where there would be a day event. We would have a main stage speaker and then breakout sessions that women can learn something, get some value from it, connect with each other, and celebrate each other. Because I have this vision, I can see it in my head where there's an entire day of connecting and learning and, just being in community with each other. And at the end of the day, we end with a celebration. There will be champagne and a DJ. I can see it. Because
I love it.
everything should be celebrated. So you spend all day with each other, you most definitely need to have a party about it and celebrate each other.
That's beautiful. What let me ask you this. So with the women that you're interviewing women from all walks of life. Are you also looking at women multi-generational?
I would love to. I would love to talk to a family of women to share their different perspectives. The other thing that I would love to do is I would love to interview a man that perhaps just has daughters and is surrounded by sisters. I would love to hear his perspective on how he views women because he's surrounded by all of these women. I'd love to interview and learn from that because I think that there's something to learn from everybody. And I mean, wouldn't you love to hear that perspective? I certainly would.
Well, you already know a man that fits that too.
Yes, I do. I think his name is Harlan.
Well, Harlan and Tony Saunders.
Tony, yes. Well, Harlan and Tony, if you're watching, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, I think they would both be great interviews. Yeah. And they both celebrate women, so.
They absolutely do. Your brother introduced the two of us. And you were one of my first interviews when I hardly knew what I was doing. But we had an amazing conversation that stayed with me because it motivated me. So as I've told you that I hope that my interviews change one person, they're changing me. And you motivated me because you were like, don't settle, don't stop, don't sell yourself short. So I thought, well, Luana's saying this, I guess I got to keep going. So I just kept going.
Well, I'm glad I could play just a little small piece in your starting, but you're just doing amazing work. I know I try to catch as many episodes as I possibly can, but fortunately, because it's podcast, I can always go back. So they're never lost episodes.
They're never lost episodes. They are on every platform, so you can listen to them from wherever you are, whatever platform you use, and you can listen to them at your leisure.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I want to take myself down. We're almost out of time and allow you the floor to share anything that you want with our audience, especially how individuals may be able to be guests and or sponsors on Women in the Arena.
Hi, everyone. I am the founder and host of Women in the Arena podcast. It is my mission to change the world. I'm going to do this by interviewing women from all over the globe and share their stories with each other. I want to build bridges amongst all of us and tear down walls. We do so many amazing things that nobody knows about. So join me in helping to celebrate all of these women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. you can visit our website at womeninthearena.net. You can find all of our episodes there, or you can catch us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. I hope you join us and come and celebrate.
Well, first I want to once again thank you, Luana, for inviting me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk directly to the audience. What I first want to say is every single one of you has a story to tell. Every single one of you has value to share. So if you are wanting to be on the show as a guest, I want you to contact me, and I'll give you that contact information here shortly. Also, I would love partnerships. I would love sponsors. There's so much we can do if we work together. I'm one person with a microphone that is talking to an audience in 43 countries. Who knew? If we could combine our resources, we really could change the world, because I want to change this world one interview at a time. So to connect with me, you can go to our website. We're at womeninthearena.net. We're on all of our socials. So Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, which is also Women in the Arena. And if you just want to email me, please email me at audra@womeninthearena.net. Please contact me. I want to tell your story. I will make sure that you have a good experience, and I will take good care of your vulnerability. And for those sponsors that are out there, please join me. Help me change the world, because there's a lot we can do together. So please come in and contact me.
I love that. This has been an amazing interview. Definitely want to have you back probably mid-2022 to find out what other doors you've been kicking open.
I never know.
That you're in. You never know what's going to happen, right?
I never know. And I just sort of follow my instinct and walk through. I try not to say no to anything, because you never know what'll happen.
Exactly. And I totally salute and celebrate you that you're following your passion. And sometimes we journey through life for quite a while before we realize what is that big thing that we're supposed to do. And like you said, this compels you. This is what you wake up excited to do every single day, that there's no option for you. You have to do this, right?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. I was given a gift of a voice, and it would be criminal if I didn't use it.
So this is an example of living on purpose and with commitment.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Audra, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you on Choose to Challenge. Thank you again so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you again for having me. I always love hanging out with you.
To our listening audience, thank you for joining us for another edition of Choose to Challenge. And just remember that when your vision aligns with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, be safe.